Tighter EU borders and migration deals with African countries have failed to reduce the number of departures from Africa. It merely temporarily diverted irregular routes, according to a report by the International Center for Migration Policy Development. Irregular border crossings at the EU's external border fell by over 1/4 in 2025, according to Frontex. The sharper decrease occurred alongside the Western African route. It could be explained by recent partnerships between the EU and key African countries such as Morocco, Senegal and Mauritania. The Asylum and Migration Pact has also harmonized border procedures and handling of irregular arrivals across the EU. But the route from Mauritania to the Canary Islands have been diverted. Departures occur now from Gambia and Guinea, making the transit via sea longer and riskier. French President Emmanuel Macron met for the first time with Pope Leo XIV at the Vatican on Friday for a private audience. Macron and the leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics were due above all to discuss the resolution of the crisis in the Middle East, with a particular focus on Lebanon, where deadly Israeli strikes threatened a 2-week-long ceasefire between the US and Iran. Pope Leo XIV has visited Lebanon last year as part of his first trip abroad and has repeatedly prayed for the victims of the conflict. Both Macron and the Chicago-born pontiff have spoken out against US President Donald Trump over the Iran war and urged for a diplomatic solution to the conflict.
Ukraine says repairs to the Druzhba oil pipeline will be completed this spring, but the politics surrounding it are far from fixed. President Zelensky confirmed this week that work is underway on the pipeline, which Kiev says was struck by a Russian drone in late January. The pipeline carries Russian oil to Hungary and Slovakia through Ukrainian territory, and this disruption has caused a major rift between Kiev and Budapest. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has accused Kiev of deliberately keeping the pipeline shut for political reasons, blocking a €90 billion EU loan to Kiev in retaliation. But Zelensky has pushed back, saying he is effectively being forced to restore the flow of Russian oil and comparing it to lifting European sanctions on Moscow. The European Commission says Brussels and Kiev are broadly aligned on timing, but has stopped short of saying any more.
Ukrainian military personnel shot down Iranian-designed Shahid drones in multiple Middle Eastern countries during the Iran war, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. Zelensky made his first public acknowledgement of the operations on Wednesday in remarks to reporters that were embargoed until Friday. The Ukrainian leader described the operations as part of a broader effort to help partners counter the same weapons used by Russia in Ukraine, but did not identify the countries. Zelensky had previously said that 228 Ukrainian experts were deployed in the Middle East. The disclosure comes amid concerns that the conflict in the Middle East could divert Western military support from Ukraine, particularly air defense supplies. But Zelensky said that partners were continuing to supply missiles for Patriot systems, adding that a new batch had arrived in recent days.
Israel and Lebanon will hold talks in Washington next week, a US State Department official said on Thursday. The Lebanese government has yet to comment. Meanwhile, at least one person was killed in Israeli overnight strikes on the southern Lebanese village of Chukin, as Israel's military warned residents of Beirut's southern suburbs of imminent strikes and urged them to evacuate. This came one day after Israel pounded Beirut with strikes that killed more than 300 people, including 30 children, and wounded at least 1,100, Lebanon's health ministry said. Kuwait accused Iran and its proxies of launching drone attacks targeting it on Thursday despite the ceasefire. Iran denied launching attacks on Persian Gulf states after Kuwait's announcement. Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei said that Tehran did not want war with the United States and Israel, but would protect its rights as a nation, according to state television. US President Donald Trump accused Iran of doing a very poor job of allowing oil through the Strait of Hormuz and of breaching the terms of their fragile 2-week ceasefire agreement. Talks between the United States and Iran on a resolution to the conflict are expected to start as soon as possible in Islamabad.
NATO allies are not obliged to assist the United States and Israel in the war in Iran, Turkey's Trade Minister Ömer Bolat told Euronews.
If the US wants a lasting and sustainable peace in the Middle East, as Mr. Trump acclaimed after the ceasefire was set, somebody should say no to Israel and Israel's actions.
US President Donald Trump issued an ultimatum to NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte in Washington, D.C., saying allies need to reopen the Strait of Hormuz within days. Trump's options include using military assets and Navy ships. A coalition of around 40 countries has been working on a strategy to resecure the strait once hostilities have ceased.
I'm sure that common sense will prevail, and NATO's presence as a deterring force also to keep peace and security, mainly on the European continent, but in the world.
Bolat said NATO countries are within their rights to tell Trump that NATO is a defensive organization and remind him they were not involved in the planning of the conflict.
The number of human beings who have traveled to the moon is expected to grow on Friday night, when the Artemis II crew complete their splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. The re-entry is considered the most dangerous part of the mission, with NASA's Orion capsule expected to endure temperatures of nearly 2,760 Celsius, about half as hot as the sun's surface. The splashdown sequence, beginning with the separation of the European service module, takes roughly 42 minutes to complete and involves 11 parachutes. Commander Reed Wiseman and his crew will be the first people to travel beyond lower Earth orbit since the final mission of the Apollo program in December 1972. Artemis II didn't land on the moon or even orbit it, but it broke Apollo 13's distance record, making the astronauts the farthest that humans have ever journeyed from Earth.
Stefano Gabbana has resigned as chairman of Dolce & Gabbana, just as the brand wrestles with €450 million in debt. He co-founded the Italian luxury house with Domenico Dolce back in 1985, though he will maintain a creative role. Stepping into the chairman's role is Alfonso Dolce, Domenico's brother, who takes the corporate reins as the brand navigates a fresh round of debt refinancing. The company described the departure, which took effect on January the 1st, as a natural process of organizational and governance evolution. This resignation, the statement continues, has no impact on the creative activities carried out for the group by Stefano Gabbana himself. They added that in regard to the debt, they are still in negotiations with banks. Dolce & Gabbana built its name on Dolce's Sicilian roots and a particular genius for form-fitting glamour.
The Portuguese city of Evora in the Alentejo region will be the European capital of culture in 2027, alongside Liepāja in Latvia. It is already the fourth city in the country to receive this title. The priority for the organization is to highlight the best that the region and its people have to offer culturally.
O património é rico e vasto, a paisagem é uma paisagem única em termos europeus e, portanto, o que nós vamos fazer é criar uma programação, e estamos a trabalhar nela, criar uma programação ao longo de todo o ano que mostra, na verdade, isto, como é que nós conseguimos ser um evento com raízes tão profundas no Alentejo e trabalhando a nossa, o que era riqueza patrimonial, artística, mas torná-la, na verdade, com uma escala verdadeiramente nacional e internacional.
This will be achieved based on a local philosophy where taking time to reflect and experience our surroundings is seen as essential.
O vagar, que é um conceito profundamente enraizado na característica dos alentejanos e do seu território, na verdade é um conceito que é multifacetado, porque ele permite oferecer a possibilidade de refletirmos sobre a forma como vivemos as nossas vidas. Como vivemos as nossas vidas, como nos relacionamos com o tempo, como nos relacionamos com o outro e como nos relacionamos com o espaço à nossa volta.
The organization estimates that this European Union initiative will result in a significant increase in the number of people visiting the region.
A Évora 27 vai trazer a Évora e ao Alentejo todo muitos visitantes, segundo os estudos, o dobro dos visitantes, que normalmente são 600.000 todos os anos e deverão passar para 1.200.000 durante o ano de 2027.
The official opening of Evora 2027 is scheduled for February the 6th next year.